Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I want to do a little bit of discussion and a review of this little guy. This is the Kaweco Sport Classic in plastic, and this particular one is in a nice burgundy sort of color. First off, though, I want to thank my buddy Robo Jim for sending this little guy along. I appreciate very much. He sent me a bunch of pens, including this guy, as well as its aluminum counterpart, well, aluminum and carbon fiber, and so it's nice to be able to do the comparison and to check out this very interesting model. Second, let's do a size comparison real quick here. First off, on the pen front, we have a couple of everyday standards. The Pilot G2 here and the Bic Click Stick medium pen. And I can go ahead and deploy this guy fully so you can get a sense of how long it is outside that. Then we can take a look at another Kaweco and my personal favorite pen for everyday carry, the Kaweco Lilliput here. Which you can see is a slightly smaller pen on both dimensions, length as well as thickness. A little bit heavier, and this one's made out of steel, obviously. Right here is your pocket jotter, which is probably the pen I recommend most regularly for everyday carry, especially if you don't want a fountain pen. And then my favorite higher-end pen, this is the Prometheus Alpha in electro-nickel finish. So there you go. Next thing I want to highlight is that I have a review of this guy, the Aluminum Sport, coming separately, and I'm doing a separate review of this because these are very, very different pens, both in terms of price point as well as overall characteristics. When you make something out of plastic, a lot of things can change. And so it's going to be a separate review. And then, finally, let's just go on ahead and jump into it and talk about the good, the great, the bad, and the ugly of your Kaweco Sport Classic here. Okay, so on the good side, first off, I appreciate that there is a variety of pens available in terms of coloration. This is the burgundy and gold color scheme, which I find pretty handsome, honestly. See, you have this little matching emblem on the top here. Zoom in a little bit there. See, Kaweco. Anyways, and so I like the fact that you have a variety of options available in terms of different colors, materials, etc. You can get this same pen in plastic and aluminum, although steel, brass, at a bunch of different price points, but even in plastic, you got options. So that's very nice. Next thing, I gotta say, I like this guy in the hand. When the cap is posted on this guy, this feels great. It is perfectly balanced. At least for my particular hands. I love very much how this feels, and it works very nicely. And the fact that it writes very nicely when posted is great too, because very often I find myself wanting to take a note in a situation where I don't have a table to set the pen down onto. I'm carrying around a notepad or something like that, and so being able to just post the cap and have the pen be perfectly ergonomic in that situation is really great for me. In fact, it's damn near optimal, so I appreciate that very much. Next thing, I do like the fact that this pen takes either a standard international cartridge, one of these little guys here, or they offer a Kaweco Sport squeeze converter, which uses some kind of a bladder with a metal spring that allows you to squeeze the ink inside the converter, so you can fill this guy from a bottle. So that gives you some nice options, but mostly it's great that it's using a generalized generalized cartridge, because that gives you a lot of options in terms of ink. So that's good. Next thing, the clip on this guy. This is an optional clip. It is a third, you can buy it at the time, but it is a very nice clip. Not only in that it has a very nice ramp to get it into and out of your pocket, it's got very good springiness to it here. It's got nice depth. When you've got this guy in your pocket, only this much of the pen is sticking out of there, which is great. And frankly, it stays on there very nicely. So I think that this with a clip is actually a little bit more compelling than without in some cases. This is a pen where you can wear it in your shirt pocket very happily because of the weight here, which is very, very lightweight, by the way. Or you can take the clip off very easily and just throw it in your pocket, and that works too. So it's nice to have that versatility. So I appreciate that very much. Next thing, this particular unit is a very nice writer. Here, I'll pull up my sheet of paper here and rotate it a little bit there. But you can see here, I mean, this lays down a nice thick line of ink. It's great, and you can get different angles and no feed problems whatsoever. Kaweco has some inconsistent nib issues on occasion, but this one is great. I would absolutely not object to writing with this pen any day of the week. You can see here that this is marked as an extra fine nib. I don't buy that at all. Compared to a Japanese, for instance, extra fine nib, this is actually reasonably bold. And I would have called this fine any day of the week, but you know what? For what it is, it works very nicely, and you can get reasonably fine lines, especially if you write upside down. Little hidden trick. There you get ultra fine lines and you still get good flow on this guy. So this is just a really nice writer. I enjoyed writing with this pen, and it writes as well as some pens higher up in its pay grade. Worth also noting, this is just gold colored. This is still a steel nib. So I'm not, it's not that. Then finally, well, not quite finally, almost finally on the good side, this will not roll. So often the Lilliput, I love this pen so much, but if I set this guy down on a table, there is one conference table where I work that is not entirely level. And if I set this pen down on it, it will find itself off on a magical journey someplace, and I'll need to retrieve my pen. This guy, because it has both the clip, or even without the clip, because it has these flat facets, just doesn't roll. Or at least it stops pretty quickly. So I appreciate that very much. It's a little detailed, but it's one that always consistently bothers me with the Lilliput taking its magical journeys off into the world. And then finally, on the good side here, the price on this pen is very, very good. This is a $20 pen, like $23, depending where you want to go. And for $23, that's pretty solid. You're getting a whole bunch of pen here for a relatively little money. So at least to me, that's what's good here, is that the price on it is pretty great. It doesn't roll. It writes very, very nicely for this kind of price point, absolutely, although they can be inconsistent. It uses a squeeze converter or just the standard cartridge. It has a very nice clip. It's nicely balanced when posted and has a nice color scheme with these different little areas all setting off the same thing. Let's talk about what's great here. And the great here is the carryability of this pen. This is very, very carryable. You can throw this guy in your shirt pocket. You can throw it in your pocket. And because it has a nice affirmative, it's not just clicky. You have to screw this on there. I had no problem just tossing this in my pocket with my keys, and it will just rattle around there, and it'll be just fine. The plastic on it feels reasonably durable. I mean, certainly I'm not going to want to jump on it or anything, but I feel like this is reasonably durable, and it's lightweight enough that, if you drop it, no big deal. And so this is a pen that is just a pleasure to carry, whether you want to do it in the shirt pocket as usual or just throwing it in the pocket. And to me, at least, that's what's great, is that carryability and the fact that it's lightweight enough. I guess I should show that off too, that it doesn't really feel like you're carrying anything. It's 0.46 ounces as opposed to the Lilliput here in the steel, which is 0.81. That's half the weight, and that shows. So that's what's great, is the carryability. Let's talk about what's not so great, the bad. So the bad side, mostly nitpicks, one more substantial issue. The first one, and this is a nitpick absolutely, is that there are lots of little molding lines on here. So you can see right there's a line that goes all the way around this thing. And similarly, on the pen itself, down by the nib, we can see there's a little nasty molding line right down the middle there. All of these things have the effect of making this pen seem more cheap and plasticky than I think it needs to. And so I hope that's something they might be able to eliminate down the road. Next thing, this is a plastic pen, so it will pick up scratches. Both scratches on the barrel from where you are posting the cap here, because that's a simple fact, and then also scratches from the clip. Unfortunately, when you use the clip on this guy, you are going to scratch up the barrel. Stuff will get trapped underneath there, and you will end up with these little scratches here. Is it the end of any worlds? No, not particularly, but it is something you're going to have to keep in mind, and if you're wanting this to stay pristine, you should either make the choice to have the clip on there or not to. Swapping back and forth might not do the trick for you. Then finally, not quite finally, the clip on this guy is not actually included. The clip is an additional $6 on top of that. Given the pen itself is $20, so I can't get too bent out of shape about that. But if you're looking at this and thinking, oh, great, it'll be clipped, this is going to cost a little more for you. Then finally, on the bad side, and probably the worst thing here, is that Kaweco unfortunately has a problem with nib consistency. I've handled now 5 different Kaweco pens, and unfortunately of them, 3 of them have had subpar nibs. They've just not been great. They've had really like slow starts where you draw a line and you get little drop-offs in the middle there. This happens to be a very good writer, and if they were all like this, I'd be very happy. But so 3 were not great. One is this guy, and then the other one was hand ground by a master. And so unfortunately, although this one is great, I've had a lot of trouble with Kaweco nibs in the past, and it makes them a little bit harder to recommend. So I hope they end up choosing a better nib maker in the future so they can be a little bit more consistent. And I'd recommend that you buy this guy from a place where you can have some aftermarket support if you end up with a bad nib. On the ugly side, look, it's a $20 pen. There's not that much ugly I can say about it. I mean, at some level, the nib thing, but it's $20. So at that level, Okay, so not really anything ugly here. So that's the bad, is that the clip isn't included. It's a little inconsistent nib quality. It picks up scratches, has some molding lines, mostly all nitpicks here. Let's go into the final conclusion. Look, final conclusions, this is a really compelling pen on a couple of dimensions. Value-wise, it's pretty great. And if you get one that writes as well as this one does, you are absolutely going to be in love with it for the price that you pay. For 20 bucks, this is really, really stellar and represents a great, great value for a fountain pen newbie or for an old-to-be. I don't know what the opposite of a newbie is. But whatever it is, that person could enjoy this pen too if you get a good one. Watch out for the inconsistency though, and don't let them send you junk. But more importantly to me, and what makes this pen more interesting, is that raw carryability. Many people are very happy to keep their pens in a briefcase or in a legal, a pad sort of situation where it's got the hook and the loop and everything. And that's great. That's a fine way to go through life. But for me, I tend to carry a pen on my person. I'll tend to throw the pen right into the pocket or keep it in my shirt pocket. And this guy being as lightweight as it is, and as well as durable as it is, with the size and form factor it has, this is absolutely a joy to carry in either position. And so that versatility, the fact that this pen is just happy to tag along with you for whatever it is that you plan to do, that is absolutely great for me and makes this a really good option. Although there is strong competition, even in this price range. The TWSBI Eco is an incredible pen for the price. This one's 30 bucks, so a little bit more, but it has some very nice features to it. It's got a nib that's very, very good as well. It has a full-on piston fill system, which is going to be way nicer than a squeeze converter if you plan to use bottled ink and whatnot. This is a great option here, but the thing is, this is just a little bit more of a diva to carry. It's going to want something like a deep shirt pocket or a pad holder, a briefcase, whereas this guy will come with you on whatever it is you're looking to do. And so I think that is a big advantage that the Sport has here, is that just ready to go sort of nature for it. And so for me at least, this is a great, great pen. I'm not quite sure I'm willing to go gem. I probably should be, but it's a great pen, and it is making me think about picking up one of the aluminum ones without the crazy carbon fiber, because that's just stupidly expensive. Because I think that would be a nice little compromise between the Lilliput, which is frankly a little bit too small in the hand, and this guy, which feels a little bit cheapy to me. But I really do like this pen, and I do highly recommend it. If you're looking for a budget pen and you're looking for something that is more carryable and that will be with you through thick and thin, so to speak, this is a really great choice, and it makes some of the other budget options look a little bit less attractive in that particular niche. So there you go. That's the final conclusion. This is a great value of a pen, particularly if you get a really good one, and it's really great to carry with you every damn day. And I think for that purpose, this is going to be the right sport for you to play. Anyways, hope this has been interesting, that I made the right call, and that you have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.